Hey everyone. Yesterday the Old Blood update released on Xbox One and PS4, so I've finally been able to play with the melee changes. I was really worried about this update, but I've surprisingly ended up really liking it. The purpose of this video is to explain why that is, and give you all fellow Conclave some food for thought. I don't think I can convince many people to like the update, if I can convince anybody at all. But still, I think showing the upsides about the update and stuff is an overall important and useful thing to do. So there are two main overall melee changes, ignoring specific weapons for now. First, blocking has been improved. Both the average angle of it and the damage reduction have been increased. The angles vary between the weapons, but the damage reduction is 100% for all weapons. The other change is that melee is overall more efficient at dealing damage. Stuff like air attacks can be done more. Slides seem to deal more damage, especially in the case of specific weapon types. There are other sorts of improvements along those lines. Now, because of that, I expected the meta to be hyper-focused on melee and AoE, making single target weapons okay at best. Single target weapons have definitely suffered a reduction in viability, but not nearly as much as I thought. You can actually see many of the encounters in this video that like they're still doing good work. You know, you can see stuff like Snipetron, Corin, not sure what else, but you know, you can see plenty of single target weapons being used here. I was actually using Dare Vandal earlier, and that still works about as well as it did before. I do wish that I remembered to record that gameplay, but next time I use it, I'll definitely record to, you know, show that as an example. And well, there are, you know, still like I mentioned, specific weapons that are problematic or more problematic now. I'll talk about them more after experiencing them, and I'll explain why, you know, I have to wait a bit once I actually am explaining. But overall, these changes just aren't as drastic as they seem to be. For example, like 100% blocking seems like a huge improvement, which it definitely is for a lot of builds. But remember, like 50% or more blocking has been available for a long time, and you know, and you can definitely argue that pales in comparison. But you have to like consider like the specific damage numbers. So like if someone is using, let's say, let's just say like a Vacor Sidon with, you know, the blocking mod. That's 80% damage reduction, so even if you're using something that deals like 200 damage, like let's say Daikyu, I'm not sure if Snipetron deals around that damage, but like regardless, like, you know, Daikyu generally 1 shot, Snipetron generally 2 shots, and if you have 80% damage reduction, that number is gonna be multiplied by roughly 5, you know, just depending on like the specifics and stuff. So like a 2 shot from a Snipetron is going to turn into a 10 shot if you have 80% damage reduction. So of course not everybody has that, but at the same time, anyone using a Snipetron would have to worry about that. And so like as a result, it's like you'd have, you know, somewhat of an easy time against, you know, people who don't have that mod on. But then people who have that mod on are going to be much more of a threat to you, just like relatively speaking. So that's just, you know, part of how like it's not as drastic as it seemed to be. So this leads me to what I actually like about the update, which I'm going to try to carefully explain so you all can understand what I mean. So I think this update reduces the effectiveness of the advantages that some loadouts have over other loadouts. So this would be a similar effect to reducing the damage multiplier for super effective moves in Pokemon. So you know how like super effective moves in Pokemon, they deal double damage as opposed to, normally effective moves. Like imagine reducing that 2 times multiplier to something like 1.5 times or whatever. So the advantage is still going to be there, but then like the other factors of the battle are going to be more impactful rather than just that damage boost, especially in the case of like severe advantages and stuff, like maybe like there's resistance, whatever. I'm not gonna explain all the intricacies of that, but like basically what this update seems to do is reduce the effectiveness of advantages in a similar way, like obviously not like the same method, but still it's reduced by like a similar relative metric, I guess. So the results of encounters in general are determined less by like the matchup itself and more by like the decision making in that matchup. So like again, like talking about something like Snipetron, pretty much everyone is going to be able to stand a better chance against it in a way which like I said, it does like sort of effectively nerf these single target weapons and stuff. Just like by that particular change. But like I think like the whole pool of changes like together, like the whole blocking thing plus the improved damage, I think it really allows anybody to pretty much like see like someone on the loadout, and then just about any loadout that they have, as long as it's like just somewhat of a decently balanced loadout, they can just like choose a way to use it which would counter that, rather than like really being stuck against like a bad matchup which they can't do much about. Because like without a blocking mod, facing against Snipetron is a lot of hoping that that the opponent misses. I know that's more complicated than that. Like it'd take a long time to explain all the intricacies. You all know about them anyway if you played for a while. So I don't think I'm gonna really bother explaining that, but I'm sorry, I've got a little loud outside, so you might hear that in the background. But the matchup itself just doesn't matter as much, which is the main thing that I really like. So while stuff like single target weapons are a little nerfed and melee is overall a lot stronger, I do think that like pretty much all of these things still have a significant amount of value. Like I'll try to show in some of my future videos, like how I'm still making Dare Vandal useful, how I can avoid melee and stuff, and I'm sure a lot of you can like figure out this stuff too, but I'm just gonna try to show and explain the stuff for more people to think about. But yeah, that's all for now. I'll make more